Hello, I have Selena here with me today to share a new lesson with you. Now, this first part of the lesson, you're not going to be able to do at home, but the second part you will be able to. I want to show you a material that might be new. You've seen it in the fraction cabinet all the years that you've been in either lower L or upper L, and maybe you've wondered why it looks different than the one you've normally used, and you probably wondered, when am I ever going to get this piece of material? And today is your lucky day, and today we're going to look at this new material. So I'm going to switch us into the split screen view so you can see just what we're going to do. Okay, so here I have a black square material that looks a lot like a different one that we've used before. I'm going to actually bring out the one we've used before. We've used this one here. And we've had this one out when we have done work with talking about the Babylonians and how they determined there were 360 degrees in a circle because there were 360 days between the repeating star pictures. And so here we had the Montessori protractor that we measured angles. And so this is used for measuring angles. Now this other frame looks similar, but it is different. So I want you to look at this one. What do you notice when you look at this frame, Selena?
It only goes to 100.
It only goes to 100. It still goes all the way in a full circle, but instead of 360 pieces, this one only has 100 pieces. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and it comes all the way back up to the 0 to 100. So there's 100 pieces or divisions on this. And we'll just wait for the picture to catch up with us. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to look at some of our fraction materials in here. I want to take out the first one. This one is the whole. We're going to call this the unit because this is like one. This is one. Now, if I put this unit into this frame, we will see that it takes up how many pieces?
All 100.
All 100 pieces. This piece here, I'm going to write this down. This is our unit. Our unit is equal to 100 out of 100 pieces. It takes up all the pieces. And you can't really see that. Let me get a marker.
Yeah, you can see that.
Okay, this unit, this red fraction whole, is equal to 100 100ths. And we know that, right? Okay, so I want to look at this frame. This frame, when one takes up the whole circle, it takes up 100 pieces. We call this material the centesimal frame. Centesimal comes to us from the Latin centum, which means 100. So think about another place where we have a cent. What's another way we use the word cent?
In money?
In money. What is a cent? What kind of coin is a cent?
A penny.
A penny. And how many pennies are in a dollar?
100.
100. So a cent, a penny, is 100th of a dollar. So just like that, when we look at it, 100 pieces, this is the centesimal frame. Centum, Latin for 100. Okay, so we've looked at a whole or a unit, and I want to look at a different piece here. So I'm going to take our unit, our whole out, and I'm going to bring in a half. So we're going to set this in here. We're going to line it up with the 0. It's going to come straight down this white line in the middle there, and we can see how many pieces this half takes up. How many pieces does the half take up?
50 of the pieces.
50 of the pieces. So I'm going to write this. This is our half, and it takes up 50 out of how many total?
100.
100. 50 100ths. We can look at it this way too. 50 100ths using our knowledge of our decimal system, we can say there's no units and there are 50 hundredths. 50 hundredths. Ah, we just converted this fraction 1/2 into a decimal. 0 and 50 hundredths. Okay, shall we try another one?
Sure.
Would you like to try 1/4?
Okay.
Okay, will you line it up in the frame? So she started up the 0 and she's following along the white line right inside there. And how many pieces did our 1/4 take up?
25 pieces.
25 pieces. I'm going to move that up so you can still see what we're working on. We have the 1/4. The 1/4 took up how many pieces?
25.
25 pieces. And how many pieces are total?
100.
100 pieces total. 25 hundredths. We can write that like this. 25 in the hundredths category. 25 hundredths. You just converted the fraction 1/4 into the decimal 0.25. And we know that they're equal. Do you know why? Because I wrote the equal sign. We also know they're equal because we just did the work right here.
I was going to say, because that's what the material says.
Yes, you should always trust the material. So the material told us that it was 25 parts out of 100, 25 out of 100, and that looks like this is a decimal. 0.25 or 0 and 25 hundredths is how you read that. Wow, the centesimal frame is pretty cool. Shall we try one more?
Sure.
Okay, let's try this little guy. Let's put this one in. I didn't tell her which piece I picked up. I just picked up one of the pieces. I'm going to move our half up.
Is it a 10th?
She's guessing that it's a 10th. Let's see. How many pieces of 100 did we use?
10.
We used 10 pieces of 100. We can rewrite that as 0.10. How do we read this number?
0.10.
0 and 1/10.
10.
We can pretend that zero's not there and it's 1/10. So she was right when she said she thought this was the 10th. And it works both ways. You can know what fraction piece you have and find out the decimal, or if you have a decimal, you can use it to go back to your fraction as well. Okay, I know that you won't have a centesimal frame and all the fraction circles at home, so I'm going to show you how to do this on paper. We just need to do a quick switcheroo over our space here, and then we'll be right back with you, so hang on. Actually,
Did it weird?
I think it's okay. All right. We are going to look at how we can convert common fractions into decimal fractions, or written fractions into a decimal without the frame. Now we have our whiteboard. Let me bring it up. We're going to see how hard this is to work with. It takes up a lot of
Should I
space.
lift this up so it can?
Let's just see if we can squish it back a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna write our equations right here because now we don't have the centesimal frame in front of us. So now you're going to have to take your knowledge of dividing, here. Okay, so we're going to start with 1/2. We already know 1/2 because we've already done that work right here. But I want to show you another way you can do it if you haven't done it with the centesimal frame. So when we have the fraction 1/2, another way to read this is 1 divided by 2. Because a fraction is a division. So 1 divided by 2, that's another way to write it. And I'm also going to write it this way, 1 divided by 2. Now, I can't take 1 and share it out evenly to 2 without changing it. I need to change it to a decimal. So what I need to do, and most of you who definitely 6th graders, maybe some 5th graders, have learned that I can multiply, or I can add to this as many zeros as I want, as long as I add a decimal point. Because 1 whole plus 0/10 is still just 1 whole. This is still 1. And if I added more zeros over here, it's still just 1. I've just added some zeros to help me do the work. I'm going to erase those zeros though, because we are not going to need them yet. Okay. Now, can I make any groups of 2 with 1?
Yeah, you can make, well, not with 1.
Nope. So I'm going to put a dotted 0 here just as a placeholder, so I remember that I made 0 groups with my 1. Now I can look at both my 1 and my 0 together. Now I have 10. How many groups of 2 can I make with 10? 5. 5. And if I make 5 groups of 2, how many do I use? All. 5 times 2 is 10. I subtract that. She's right. I used all of them. I have no remainder, nothing left over. So the tricky step, or it's not really the tricky step, but the last step here is that I've added this decimal. So I have to also have the decimal in my answer. So my decimal goes right there. My answer to 1/2, or 1 divided by 2, is equal to 5/10. Let's look at what we did with the centesimal frame. 1/2 equaled 50 hundredths equaled 0.5. We did it. We didn't have the centesimal frame, but we did it anyways. Okay, let's try another one. How about if we use, we didn't do this one earlier, so let's try it. Let's try 1/8. 1/8. 1/8 equal is the same as saying 1 divided by 8. And we'll draw our division over here. Whoops. I put our 8 inside the bracket, but our 8 is our divisor. Okay. Can I make any groups of 8 with 1? No, so we'll go ahead and just put a whole 0 there this time, not a dotted one. I can add a decimal and a 0. Can I make any groups of 8 with 10?
You can make 1 group of 8.
Okay, and if I use that, how many did I use if I did 1 group of 8?
You used 8.
So I subtract 8. 10 take away 8 is 2. Okay, now I have a remainder, but we don't want a remainder, so we're going to add another 0. Bring it down, 20. How many groups of 8 can I make with 20?
2.
2 groups. What is 8 times 2?
16.
So we're going to subtract 16. 20 take away 16? 4. Okay, we still have something left over. We'll add 1 more 0. We'll bring it down. Sorry, I didn't draw my zeros coming down. 40. Ooh, what times 8 is, or what? How many groups of 8 can we make with 40?
5.
5. And 5 groups of 8 equals
40.
40. So we subtract 40 and we have 0. We're all done with the division. We need to bring our decimal point up. The conversion of 1/8 is equal to 0.125. The way we read that is 125 thousandths. 1/8 equals 125 thousandths. Wow, that was fun. Okay, so I want you to think about what kind of fractions or what fractions you'd like to convert to a decimal. You don't have to just use like 1/8 or 1/4 or 1/2 like we did. You can do any fraction. So
1/3.
You could do 1/3. I was thinking instead of just like 1 of something, you could do 2/3. You could do 7/15, because that would look like this: 7 divided by 15, and then you would just do your work like that, right? Like you would just keep doing it. So you can make your fraction be anything you want it to be. This could even be, what could it be? It could be 721. 721 1586. Could be anything. You can make whatever fractions you want. I don't recommend going crazy to the really big ones. I recommend probably staying in like 2/3 or 7/15 or 3/5.
Small numbers.
Smaller numbers until you get familiar with it and have fun with it, and then you can go crazy with the big numbers. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed having the lesson on how to convert fractions or common fractions into decimal numbers, or converting into a decimal form. And I know that you don't have the centesimal frame and the fraction circles at home to do it this way, but now that I've shown you on paper, or in this case on whiteboard, I hope that you are able to try some at home. I can't wait to see what you do. You can write them out and take a picture and email them to me. You can write them out and then talk me through your steps on a Flipgrid video. However you want to share it with me, I can't wait to see it. I hope you have a great night. Bye-bye.